Well, hello friends, this here's David Vos. Today is April 10th, 2016. It's good to see everybody today. Well, as you can see, I'm out here along the road. I'm going out to my property in Texas. And so the property that I purchased is in Texas. And I'm going to be moving over there within the month. But I'm going over there now and I'm building a cabin. And boy, howdy, I'll tell you. This is the most beautiful place I've ever been, and I've been everywhere in the United States of America. I've been everywhere. I never went to Alaska, and I never went to Hawaii, but everywhere in the continental United States I've been. And oh howdy, this is the most unbelievable place. You know, it's like I've told some people, it's like you go through a door, and it's like this door, it's not secret, okay? It's kind of hidden, but it's not secret. But the only people that ever, and you know, anybody can go through the door. It's about a 200-mile round circle here in Texas. It's just, there's no people. It's just amazing. You know, my property's actually 45 miles from a town. There isn't any, well, you get Verizon Mobile out here, but that's about it. And it is just absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I don't know why there aren't more people talking about it, but you got all these national parks in Utah and Arizona and all over the world. And here's Texas, and it's just known for, you know, what, cows and stuff, but people don't realize just how beautiful the hill country of Texas is. And the climate is so beautiful. But anyway, I digress. Just makes my heart glad every time I just step outside here in Texas. It's just unbelievably beautiful. The cows here, unlike the ones over there where I was in New Mexico, they're happy here. You know, I don't see all these feeder lots and cows standing, you know, neck to neck in a pile of manure. And all the dairies aren't here. It's just people raising their cows. Now, I understand a lot of these cows are going to be slaughtered, but at least during the time that they have to live, they're out in the field, and there's trees that they can get some shade, and they seem to be pretty happy. So I'm always happy when I'm here. The flowers are blooming. And Texas is known for the bluebonnet. They grow along the roadsides. It's just so beautiful. And then there's some other yellow flowers that grow. So in the spring, it's just a beauty to behold. Little birds are flying around. Deer everywhere. I saw a couple days ago, I saw this big old mother bear, or excuse me, a boar, mother pig. She had about 4 little baby pigs. And I thought, well, I don't know. Hold on, my dogs are... Get over here! Come on! Getting out on the road. Get over here! Come on! I've got about another 50 miles to go to get to my place. But I had to stop and let the dogs get out, and I thought, well, I'll make this video here because it's a nice little spot here. And it's just so pleasant. But this 4 little piggies, they're standing out there in this little river, and I thought, well, you know, I've heard stories about how boar are mean, you know, and if I get too close, she'll probably come after me and rip my leg off or something, you know. But I wanted to get a good picture, and all I've got is this little phone, right? So you got to get up pretty close, and so I climb down over the bank, and I get down there, and I'm trying to get close enough to take this picture, and she sees me, and I thought, man, she's going to take me. That mother pig took off running like a scared cat and left her 4 little babies there with me. I thought, my goodness. Most time, you know, mothers aren't like that. Like the other day when I got this big dog I told you guys about. And he's huge. He's only 4 months old, and he's already as big as a lab. So I don't know what kind. They said he was part lab, but man, this thing looks like he's got St. Bernard in him. So he comes into the house a couple of days ago, and this cat I have's got 5 little baby kittens. Oh howdy. She saw that dog, and she took after that dog. I thought she was going to kill that big old dog. Well, she didn't want anybody messing with her babies. Well, friends, today I wanted to just some thoughts as I was driving down the road. I thought maybe you guys would enjoy hearing about. You know, in a lot of my videos I've talked about, the galaxy and the Orion's Arm, and we talked about how the Great Pyramid has those two chambers, the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber, and how the King's Chamber shaft points to the constellation of Orion, and basically to Orion's Belt. Well, what's interesting is, I don't know if most of you probably aren't even aware where this is and everything, but you look up at the sky towards the south. I guess most of us here in the United States just look up there and towards the south. Just as it gets evening, and the lights go out, the stars come up, and there it is. It looks to me like this arrow. And then you look at it again, it's kind of like this big box with a handle. But those three stars, that's Orion's Belt. And it's actually also the one of the lines in the arrow that when I see it. So I kind of picture somebody named Orion up there with this arrow, right? This bow. But those three stars, Orion's Belt, if you go follow them eastward, you'll come right out to one of the brightest stars in the sky, which is Sirius. And we've talked about how that's only 8 light years away. So we're actually in the gravitational pull of Sirius. And that's why it's kind of a yellowish color. Because you see, when light refracts differently depending on how far it is and the intensity and so forth. So a lot of the skies are very far away and they look more blue. But this light is so close that it almost takes on this yellow color. Just like the planets, because they're real close, And excuse me, there's a fly here. But so if you follow, like, in the direction where that arrow that you'll see, I don't know if it's actually shown as an arrow on any of the maps, but I see an arrow when I look up there. And that Orion's arrow is actually pointing due north, just almost directly towards the North Star, which I think is also beautiful and very picturesque and interesting, because we're, as an Earth, we're spinning, and of course we're spinning on the axis, and so the center of the axis is actually going right straight towards that North Star. So that's why the North Star doesn't move, because see, it's just right there in the middle, and we spin around like that and it always stays in the same place, but all the constellations go around. Well, what's interesting is that we've talked about the ancient knowledge from the Egyptians and the Sumerians. They talk about how we're in this area. Nibiru is one of the planets probably around Sirius. And it's the planet of the crossing. It's not one of the planets really in our solar system, except for every 3,600 years it comes into our solar system, or near it. And that's the time of the crossing. And we're nearing that time now. But, so Sirius is 8 light years away. And Orion's Belt is made up of quite a few different little stars. But most of the 3 stars there in the Orion's Belt and some of the other stars around it are just about 1,000 light years away. Now that sounds like a long, long ways. But if you look up into the sky, a lot of those stars you see are hundreds of thousands of light years away. So it's not very far. And so what that means is that Orion and the Earth and Sirius, we're about halfway out. If you're going from the center of the galaxy, we're about halfway out. Because it's about 50,000 light years from the center to the out part of the galaxy. And we're on this Orion Arm. And there's different arms that come out of the galaxy. Sagittarius and different arms. Now, the Orion arm is not really a full arm. It kind of only goes about halfway, and it kind of crosses, kind of mixes in with Sagittarius. So, what's really happening is that the light at the center of the universe, or the center of this galaxy, is consciousness. It's a concentration of energy and power. And all the energy and the power of the universe is from mind. And see, that's where Father in heaven lives, is right there in the center in that unapproachable light. The New Testament talks about Our Father in heaven dwells in unapproachable light. Now, I've said before that it's probably the center of the galaxy, but in reality, it's even more amazing than that. Because you see, Jesus talked about his Father, and he talked about the Jewish Father, which was from beneath, and his Father, which was from above. And we talked about that means spiritual rather than the physical, carnal, fleshly Father. Let me just check see if my puppies are behaving themselves. Yeah, they are. But, you see, this is this great revelation of our Father in heaven that almost no Christian even understands. And this has been a very huge mystery down through the ages. But the revelation of this mystery will blow your mind. But our Father in heaven ultimately is the entire universe, which is infinite. So there's no center. There's no actual one being that within that one person the entire universe can dwell. However, it says that in Christ the fullness of the divine being dwelleth bodily. But you see, in a sense, what that's saying is that the fullness of the divine is in every one of us, because Christ is also in you. So what really is our Father in heaven? See, there are different... The Jews had a father, and he was carnal. Jesus talked about another Father that was above that one. And turns out that if you were to go to the very center of our galaxy, you would definitely find a mind so brilliant and so omniscient and amazing, you would think that is the ultimate creator of all. But in fact, you'd probably be wrong. Even though that place in that conscious level would probably be incomprehensible to us, and therefore fulfills the actual definition of dwelling in unapproachable light. But still, the definition of our Father in heaven being in unapproachable light is probably more akin to the idea of the sublime Father. You probably would call this the Father of the Orion Father, the one that governs this sector of the universe, or the galaxy. But beyond that, you would probably go to the galactic Father that we were just talking about. There's got to be one being who is the Father of all the other beings that are in this particular galaxy. But that Father also has a Father. Because there are 500 billion galaxies that we know about. But because we're evolving and coming out from that Orion arm in this galaxy, and because it's virtually impossible or unapproachable, the conscious level that's in the center of this galaxy, how much more incomprehensible would it be if we ever reached the universal Father? And then, if you can receive this, even the universe is not the end of it. Because the universe is infinite, there is even a higher Father than the universal Father, and I would call that the sublime Father, because you see, the word sublime, that's where we get the word subliminal. See, we can recognize it consciously, but we cannot comprehend it because it's subliminal. It is so far removed from our consciousness that we cannot even truly even begin to comprehend the magnificence and the omniscience of that great Father of heaven and earth. That is the true Father of all of us and the creator of all, which is the sublime Father. And so we're all starting out on this journey from the center of this universe in this magnificent place of light, going forward, as it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 18, from glory to glory, even as is done by the Lord. And as it says in 1 Corinthians 15, there are many different bodies in the resurrection. There are earthly bodies, there is the body of fish, there are bodies of the birds, and there's the bodies of mammals, and there's the bodies of humans. And God gives it a body that it pleases Him. But it says so also is the resurrection, because when we kind of get out of this carnal world and we finally achieve that resurrection, which is the resurrection unto eternal life, then we have the glory of one body, which is that of the moon, and there's the glory of that of the stars, and the glory of that of the sun. And each star differs from star in glory. So we are going to progress for eternity, friends. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to shut this down for a second and get my dogs. And I know you guys can't see me very well because the lighting is not that dark out here. It's beautiful. It's bright. But the diffusion of the light is making it difficult for you to see me. But this is best I can do in this lighting. So I've got to keep my eye on these dogs. But so what were we talking about? We're on this journey, this evolutionary process from within the light. We have to ascend and we have to descend. You see, Christ, it says, what is it that he ascended? But that he descended far below all things first. And then he reached that place which is the lowest hell, which in mythology and in all the ancient wisdom, there were these 9 levels. And so the 9th level, you went through the... Sorry, there's a car going by. The 9th level, which is Tartarus, is the 9th gate. And in the ancient writings, the 9th gate was there in that Orion cluster, that Orion constellation, right there at Orion's Belt. If you notice, there's a square. You can just make it out. Orion's Belt is the center of the square, or actually the top part of the square. And that square, when I look up there and I see that square, I imagine this sort of a window that our soul comes through. And that's the 9th gate. And it talks about this in the Sumerian tablets and the Egyptian books. So what is this 9th gate? Well, remember we talked about how Osiris got in the coffin and they sent him down the river. Well, in Greek mythology, they call that the river Styx. And that river Styx is really the Milky Way. So the Milky Way, if you on the earth and you look up in the sky, you see this beautiful, bright concentration of stars like a Milky Way. And that Milky Way basically is this Orion's arm. And it starts from the center of the galaxy and starts coming towards out, swirls out. So we're evolving down this Milky Way as we go, from the center outward. Like I said, Orion and Orion's Belt, no stars in that area, in that constellation, they're about halfway out. So at that point, according to the ancient wisdom, we're getting closer and closer to the outer darkness, see, because the light's in the center of the galaxy. And that is the 9th gate. When you get through that, we're beyond Orion's Belt. See, we're in the outer darkness. We're down in this lowest pit. And Christ descended far below all things and reached this place called Earth, which is there at beyond the 9th gate. And when you get to that 9th gate, that's where we're redeemed, because there's no way out. This is the darkness of the most disgusting place. We're getting down here in this carnal nature where, the consciousness of our Father in heaven is almost gone and extinguished. But you see, there in the manger, there in that boat, is Christ. At this point, he's just asleep. And like in the ancient, mythological tale of Inanna, she goes down through the 9 gates of hell, and she gets to the last gate, and she's standing there naked. All the way down through these gates, she's having something removed, her jewelry, and then her dress, and then, her undergarments, and all of this she's just being exposed right down to her nakedness, and she finally reaches the 9th gate, which is the earth. And that's our Mother Earth. And you see, Christ came to redeem the woman, and this is what this is all about. He came to redeem our body, which is trapped in this illusionary world that we live here, that we live in here on earth. So I thought maybe you guys would like to hear a little about that and how and what that's really talking about, and how at this point our soul's about to be redeemed and we're about to do the ascension. And the ascension is going to take us thousands and millions of years, friends. And it's going to be beautiful. And the glories that await us are just absolutely amazing. In fact, the Apostle Paul says is that it's incomprehensible, and the eye has not seen nor the ear heard what is in store for us, because it is beyond the comprehension of the human brain. And it's a beautiful thing, friends. And Father in heaven loves you all. You're all his children, and you're in his hand, in his grasp, and there's no way to remove you. And he's not slow respecting his promise. You see, it takes millions of years, but he has a plan, and he does not desire for any to perish, but for all to attain unto eternal life. And we do this through Christ, which is in you. And this is the hope of glory, friends. So this here's David Vos, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you again tomorrow, and we'll start right off where we left off. So this here's David Vos. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.